I didn't realize it at first, not right away. At first, it just felt like being in the way, like I was something extra that no one quite knew what to do with anymore. The first time I noticed it was at the dinner table. Nothing dramatic happened. No arguments, no raised voices, just a pause, a silence that lasted a second too long. My daughter was setting plates down. She put one in front of her husband, one in front of the kids. Then she hesitated before placing one in front of me. Just a second, but it stayed with me. I told myself I was imagining things. People hesitate, people get distracted. Not everything means something. But after a while, those little moments start stacking up. And once they do, it's hard to ignore the shape they make. I'd moved into my daughter's house a year earlier. It wasn't supposed to be permanent. Just for a while I got back on my feet after my husband passed. Everyone agreed it made sense. The house was big, there was room, and they said they wanted me there. I believed them. At first, everything felt normal. I cooked when I wanted to, helped with the kids, paid my share, kept to myself when the house got loud. But slowly things shifted. Conversations stopped when I walked into the room. Decisions were made without me, even when they involved me. My daughter would say things like, "We talked about it," without saying who we was. Sometimes I'd suggest something simple, a grocery item, a small change in routine, and she'd smile tightly and say, "We've got it covered." That phrase came up a lot. "We've got it covered." I started hearing it as, "You don't need to be involved." Before we continue, if this story resonates with you, comment below how it made you feel and where you're watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach more people. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I tried to make myself smaller after that. That's something you do without realizing it. You stop leaving your things in shared spaces. You ask before using things you once used freely. You wait longer before speaking, just to see if anyone notices you're about to say something. Most of the time, they don't. My room became the safest place in the house. Not because it was comfortable, but because it was the only space that still felt like mine. I kept the door closed more often, read more, watched the light change on the walls in the afternoon. I told myself this was temporary. Everything is temporary if you wait long enough. One afternoon, I overheard my daughter talking on the phone in the kitchen. I wasn't trying to listen, I was just passing through. "She doesn't really need all that space," she said. "It's just extra." I stopped walking. "She's fine," my daughter continued. "She just doesn't like change." I stood there, holding my breath, feeling like I'd stumbled into something private that wasn't meant for me. Extra. That word stuck. That night I lay awake thinking about how easily people adjust to having you around, and how easily they adjust to the idea of you taking up less room. A week later, she asked me to sit down. She didn't say it like it was a serious conversation. No warning, just, "Can we talk for a minute?" She stood. I sat. That should have told me something. "We've been thinking," she said carefully, "about what's best for everyone." That phrase again. Everyone. She explained that the house was getting crowded, that the kids needed more space, that her husband was stressed, that routines were changing. None of it was untrue, but none of it included me. "I think it might be time for you to consider other arrangements," she said. Other arrangements. I looked around the room, at the furniture I'd helped choose, the rug I'd bought, the photos on the wall that included me, cropped carefully into the edges of the frame. "Are you asking me to leave?" I asked. She sighed, not angrily, tiredly, like this conversation was something she'd already had in her head. "We just think it would be better," she said. "For everyone." I nodded slowly. Not because I agreed, but because my body had gone still and nodding felt easier than speaking. That night I went back to my room and sat on the edge of the bed for a long time. I thought about all the ways I'd tried not to be a burden, and I realized something then. They hadn't started treating me like one recently. They'd just stopped hiding it. As I lay there staring at the ceiling, another thought surfaced. One I hadn't considered before. They were already planning my absence, and whatever they'd decided, it didn't include my voice. I didn't leave right away. That's the part people sometimes question when I tell this story. They ask why I stayed, why I didn't pack a bag that same night and walk out with my head high. The truth is quieter than that. I stayed because I needed time to understand what was really happening, and because after a while, you don't always trust your instincts the way you used to. You start asking yourself if you're being too sensitive, too slow to adapt, too stuck in how things used to be. So I waited. And while I waited, the house changed around me, not all at once, never in ways you could point to and say, "That's it, that's the moment." It was more like the air shifted. The rules moved without being announced. My shelf in the refrigerator got smaller, not emptied, just reduced. My food pushed to the side to make room for theirs. My labeled container replaced with something generic. Leftovers, laundry day came and went without anyone asking if I had clothes to add. When I brought it up, my daughter said, "Oh, I didn't realize you had anything in there." I always did. I started noticing how often the word "we" came up. We decided, we talked, we agreed, and how rarely you appeared in any of it. I began eating earlier before everyone else. It felt easier than sitting through meals where conversations flowed around me like water around a stone. I told myself I preferred the quiet. Sometimes that was even true. One evening, I overheard my daughter and her husband talking after they thought I'd gone to bed. "She doesn't really need the bigger room," he said. "Not anymore." There was a pause. "She's not going to like it," my daughter replied. Another pause. "Longer, she'll adjust," he said. That word again, adjust. I lay in the dark, listening, my heart steady but heavy. They weren't being cruel, that was the strange part. They were being practical. And when people convince themselves they're being practical, they stop questioning whether they're being fair. The next day, I found a box outside my door. It wasn't labeled, just taped shut, leaning neatly against the wall. Inside were my things, not all of them, just enough to send a message. Books I hadn't touched in a while, old paperwork, a lamp I liked but didn't use every day. Nothing important, they could argue, nothing essential, but it was mine. I carried the box into my room and sat on the floor to go through it. I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry. I felt sorted, like someone else had gone through my life and decided which pieces still belonged. Later that afternoon, my daughter knocked on my door. She didn't wait for an answer before opening it. "We were thinking," she said, eyes already scanning the room. "You could move into the smaller room just temporarily. It's a word that can stretch forever if you let it." I looked at her, really looked at her, the way she stood, the way she avoided meeting my eyes. "When?" I asked. "Soon," she said. "It would just make things easier. For everyone." I nodded again. That reflex had become familiar. That night, I lay awake thinking about all the times I'd made things easier for other people. How often I'd stepped aside so someone else could be comfortable. How natural it had felt to do that when I believed I still had a place. And I wondered when that place had quietly disappeared. If this story is touching you, pause for a moment and comment below. A few days later, I noticed something else. Mail, not missing, just redirected. Envelopes with my name on them sat on the counter, already opened. When I asked about it, my daughter said, "I didn't want to bother you with paperwork." That sentence should have reassured me. Instead, it made my stomach tight. I asked where my important documents were: insurance, bank statements, things I like to keep organized. She waved a hand. "We put everything somewhere safe." That night, I went through my drawer. The one where I'd kept my folder, it was gone. In its place was a stack of old magazines. That was the moment something inside me finally shifted. Not into anger, into clarity. This wasn't about space or stress or adjustment. This was about control. They had decided quietly, efficiently, that my life was something to be managed now, simplified, reduced, handled, and I had let them because I didn't want to be difficult. I sat on the edge of the bed and felt a strange calm settle over me. Endurance had run its course. I didn't need to argue, I needed to act. And the first thing I needed to do was stop asking for permission. I didn't announce anything. That was the first decision I made differently. In the past, I would have explained myself, laid out my reasons, tried to make sure everyone understood that I wasn't angry, that I just needed a little respect, a little space. I would have softened my words so no one felt uncomfortable. This time I stayed quiet. I started with small things, practical things, the kind that don't invite debate. I made a list, not a dramatic one, just notes. Where my documents should be, which accounts were still active, who had access to what. I wrote slowly, carefully, the way you do when you don't want to miss anything. The next morning, I asked to borrow the car. My daughter looked surprised. "Where are you going?" "I have errands," I said. She hesitated. "I can come with you." "That's not necessary," I replied. The words felt unfamiliar in my mouth, firm, complete. I went to the bank first. Sitting there, waiting for my number to be called, I felt my heart beating steadily. Not fast, not nervous, just present. When the woman at the desk asked how she could help me, I told her plainly what I wanted. I wanted access to everything with my name on it. She looked at the screen, then back at me. "There have been some changes," she said gently. "I know," I replied. "I'd like to review them." It took time, signatures, questions, verification. But no one argued with me. No one suggested I didn't know what I was doing. That mattered more than I expected. Next came the lawyer. I hadn't seen him in years. When he recognized me, he smiled, then paused, like he was checking whether the smile was still appropriate. We sat across from each other in a quiet office, and I explained, not everything, just enough. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he nodded once. We can fix this. And he did. I updated my will, clarified decisions, made things unmistakably clear, not out of spite, out of necessity. When I got home that evening, the house felt the same. But I wasn't. My daughter noticed first, not because I said anything, but because I stopped shrinking. I took up space again, used the kitchen when I wanted, sat in the living room without apologizing, asked direct questions and waited for answers. When she finally confronted me, it wasn't angry, it was uneasy. "You seem different," she said. "I am," I replied. She asked what I was doing. I told her the truth, not all of it, just enough. She cried, said she felt overwhelmed, said she thought she was helping, said she didn't realize how far things had gone. I listened. I believed her, but belief doesn't erase consequences. "I'm not angry," I told her, "but I'm not handing my life over either." After that, things changed quickly. Not loudly, quietly. I found an apartment, small, clean, mine. I moved my things myself, a little at a time. Each box felt lighter than the last. On my final night in that house, I stood in my empty room and looked around. I didn't feel bitter, I felt finished. They watched me leave from the doorway. No one stopped me. At my new place, I unpacked slowly, put things where I wanted them, sat in silence without feeling watched. A week later, my daughter called. Her voice was careful. She asked about the will. I told her it was settled. There was a pause on the line. "Oh," she said, "I didn't realize." "That's okay," I replied. "Now you do. We talk sometimes now, not like before, but honestly." They treated me like a burden because it was easier than seeing me as someone who still had choices. What changed? Everything wasn't anger or confrontation. It was clarity. And the quiet decision to take my life back without asking permission. If this story moved you, subscribe to our channel. Support these stories so they reach those who need to hear them. I sit in my own living room now, light coming through the window, papers neatly filed where I can see them. Nothing is missing, and neither am I.